Is humanity's blueprint broken?
I think it's partially broken. So the one that we've been functioning on for, say, 4,000 to 6,000 years is broken and frankly needs to break. I mean, let's just be real. For thousands of years, probably tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of years, we humans have really approached this planet in an adversarial way. It's going to be messy. You know, it's like cleaning out a house. You know, when you bring in the cleaners, it kind of looks worse before it looks better. At least it does in my house. I am the eternal optimist. I have to speak it from my own point of view. I do believe that.
Are you ready to shine? Shine bright.
Woo-hoo!
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wondered what's going on in the world and if it means your psychic powers, our healing powers are growing, then do we have the Quantum Psychic Surgery show for you. Today, I'll be talking with Cyndi Dale, intuitive healer, energy worker, and the author of many brilliant books on energy, chakras, and a new favorite course on quantum psychic surgery. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about what's going on energetically in the world and in your body and how we can heal both of them. So welcome back to the show, Cyndi. Are you ready to shine?
I'm ready to shine. I'm ready to help everybody shine because that's what we're called to do these days. We got to be brilliant and shine.
Woohoo! So on that note, I can't believe I'm going to ask this question, but before we dive into things, is humanity's blueprint broken?
I think it's partially broken. So the one that we've been functioning on for, say, 4,000 to 6,000 years, and there's a little history lesson with that, is broken and frankly needs to break too, because it's based on polarities. It's based on good and bad and evil and this and that. And I love the title of this one book. It's a young adult novel by Susan Cooper. The Dark is Rising. So let's get rid of that blueprint and open one that I think is innate and intelligent and divine, and it's in each of us and in this world. So that's the positive. We could activate the blueprint that's underneath, the one that needs to be ripped up too.
Thank you. And I want to dive more into what blueprints are and quantum blueprints and all of this. And then we're going to go into later on quantum psychic surgery. However, what you said is very interesting. And I know people are going, wait a second. The dark is rising. But I think the next line, the corollary to that you're going to say is the light is rising as well. Please tell me that's true.
It is absolutely true. And, you know, I really do recommend this little young adult novel by Susan Cooper. It's set in Wales. It's got cool King Arthur sort of stuff. And, you know, and it features this young boy who's awakening. His soul is being awakened to his abilities, to his powers by a group of beings called the Immortals. I think that's a fascinating concept too.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's us.
It is us. While the dark is rising, the light is called to rise even higher and brighter and more intensely. So of course the light is rising. And don't you think, Michael, it's a great opportunity for each of us to enable that within ourselves to shine that way?
It is a great opportunity. And as we were talking off air, it is a, dare I say, shaky, interesting time where I've got to be honest. I travel all over the world. I do really love our home, though, and I like comfort. And I'm not allowed to stay comfortable now. I don't know about you, Cyndi. So my little inner beingness, there's part of me that's going woohoo to, you know, all this travel and stuff, but my inner beingness is going, no, I just want to stay comfortable. But expansion is not necessarily comfortable. And if we recognize we're expanding, we're growing, we're going into the light, and it can be a holy moment.
It's messy. Change,
yes.
Transformation, alchemy, working with and for goodness is messy. You know, it actually is. I have this viewpoint that there's two simultaneous universes. It's a bit of a stretch to put it that way. But what is this sort of an absolute? It's what we know innately is good and who we are and what we're made out of. And it's made out of a light that casts no darkness. It's actually a real science concept. And the other is this every day, it's the polarity. But when you're trying to open up, what we would call the spirit, the goodness, and you're doing it in the middle of this gnashing of teeth, right? That's happening, this sort of, it's really hard. And I've been very emotional about it, not in a bad way, I think in a good way, because we do have to rouse our emotions at this time and do something positive with them. It's going to be messy. It's like cleaning out a house. When you bring in the cleaners, it kind of looks worse before it looks better. At least it does in my house.
And I like what you say about the emotions, because to me, emotions are, we can use that expression, neither good nor bad. They're energy moving you forward. And so I will tell Jessica, I feel really uncomfortable right now. I don't have the word for it. We can call it angry. We can call it angst. You can stop labeling it as the best thing to say. It's helping to move us forward. The only time that energy is not good, and this gets into healing and things, when we do not take action based on our energy, then it's stuck. Then you have dis-ease. That's where you run into the challenges.
That's exactly it. You have the disease, and there's so many studies. Some of them are fascinating about when you allow your emotions, your feelings to get trapped in the body, to be repressed. We also take on other people's feelings and emotions, and those can get trapped too. That's where you do get disease. You get physical blocks. I think it's, anything from tumors to headaches to inability to sleep. Just about anything is usually from that sort of a repression or kind of an emotional caretaking, when we're just absorbing. And I'm like, this isn't mine. Why am I walking around with this, with this sense of shame? Or why am I walking around with this sense of apathy? That can even be an emotion that I think is being spread right now.
Heck yeah. Well, let's go there. Let's talk about the energies right now. And what does, I can't believe I'm going to ask this too. What does dark energy have to do with anything?
Well, I have two ways to approach dark energy. First of all, on a science level, light and dark aren't, they're not good and bad. They're just hues. They're just measurements. They're just frequencies or this or that. Typically in the energy field, we use the word dark, to talk about not good. I sometimes like to use the word interference instead of dark, but dark is just easier, right? You just think of deep, big black clouds in horror movies. No, I can't watch horror movies, but horror movies.
No, because and for people who love horror movies, that's great. However, we tend to vibrate or get in sync with what energies are around us.
We do, and I just plain won't sleep because I'm sure that weird Megan doll, is gonna enliven herself, in my room or something. But it really does, dark energies are incomplete. And the beings or the forces that are dark range everywhere from sort of the loose, low level stuff that might be deceased souls that don't really want to be dead, so they hang on, all the way to what I would call dark forces, which is what we're seeing a lot of. That's what's grabbing us. That's what many of us are appalled by. Those are the ones that increase genocide, racism, sexism, the canceling, of real history, the perpetuation of people losing their lives, their stories, their sense of safety. And we could even use the word evil, but I like the definition of evil as comes out of another young adult novel. I'm placing my reading level.
I love this.
The Wrinkle in Time, where evil is called the Xenoid, right? Or the X. It's trying to X people out. It's trying to destroy spirit, body. It's trying to repress or X out, your sense of self, your power. There's a lot of those forces right now, a lot of them.
Are the forces are they forces of good in disguise to help us recognize what's important, who and what we are, and transform us to a higher level? Even in, there's a lot of profanity. I don't usually say anything, even in the holy bleepedness of the current state that we're in. Bleeping myself.
I love that question. I was recently teaching a class and somebody asked about that. She says, I'm getting Satan showing up in my dreams, scary. And that's a term that we use for dark forces. this too. That though the shaitan in Sufism are called the voices or the fire that do make us look at what we have to deal with inside of ourselves. So when she asked about that, I said, perhaps we need to see these kind of forces, people, beings more as allies. It's a shaman idea that an ally gets in your face and you decide what you're going to become because that ally is there.
Hold that thought for one quick second. I have a prop that I think I have with me. I try to carry it with me. Yes, I do. I do have this prop. It's actually my second one of these because Hannah Bear walks off with the first one. So in this little snow globe here is a shark. So we think of sharks as, well, at least in Western, based on the movie Jaws, we think of them as scary and bad, but the shark is actually smiling. And so when we look at our fears and we look at our darkness and we look at what scares us the most, what we actually find is something that's transformative and smiling.
That's right.
And helping carry us forward.
Yes. There is that, very human idea or construct, too, that, to some extent, you don't know how powerful you are unless you have to sharpen your sword arm. Now, it doesn't mean we have to use swords or knives or guns or, this or that or the other thing, but we have to use our wits, our ethics, our power, our voices together. Recently, there was a huge demonstration in Denver, America, where 34,000 people showed up. We haven't seen that since Obama, kind of saying, wait a minute, everybody's voice needs to count. That's creating light. That's creating, and enforcing our personal responsibility. Michael, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think about this too? Because in the middle of this time, and it's very necessary too, that people also consider their own personal safety. It's not about martyrdom. I don't know about you, but I was raised white, Wonder Bread, Lutheran. You weren't, but we studied, all these great martyrs who throw themselves, kind of out there and get eaten by the lions or don't. I don't want to get eaten by the lions.
I did a bike ride across the country, 2004, 5,000 miles solo, 40 days, blah, 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 all by myself to help people with learning disabilities, attention deficit disorder. And I basically ground my knees at the time into sawdust and said, I am doing this for others. The fact is, that's bullshit. It was doing it for my ego. I was in the name of helping others. But to me, the concept of martyrdom is both completely broken and the opposite of the universe, which to me is about love. And love dictates, you ask what love would do. Love would not martyr yourself because that brings your energy down, and bring your energy down doesn't help anybody else's, but it goes a step beyond that too, which is we can be the spiritual beings. But the reason I keep mentioning Archangel Sandalphon recently is he is representative of the archangel, one of two archangels that was here on earth. He's the tallest archangel because he has his feet still planted on the ground. So we can be spiritual up here all we want, but keep your feet on the earth, which means the angel number is 222. Be prudent. Look both ways before you cross the road. Make sure it's safe because you don't need to check out any earlier going, oh, I'm spiritual. No, we look both ways. We make sure we're safe.
Amen. There's an old saying, pray to Allah, but tether your camel.
Yeah, perfectly put.
So, or it'll run off.
I took an arms control. Can you believe this? I took an arms control class with a former deputy director of defense way back in the 80s. I mean, Russia, US or USSR. And the expression in arms control is trust, but verify. That's Absolutely. What you're talking about.
And that can be anything from checking your data, right, to checking yourself, to looking out after your community. It's like there's the old book by Stephen Covey, that you work in circles, you're your core circle, you, and then immediate, loved ones. And then you go forward. I don't think it often works. And I used to be that kind of activist in college, rousing the ban Nestle and, this and that and the other thing, all of which is great. I don't think it made any darn difference at all, but it's sort of like stay within the milieu you're in. That's what I tell myself, and reach out to work for the greater good. So it's a balance. It's very much a balance, and it is a blueprint, we're developing too. It's just a template. It's a way of being, that is about love. And I think about grace. I don't mean that word in a religious sense. To me, grace is an energetic.
It's a power. It's a force.
It is. And it's love that makes a difference. It's love that vibrates, which is also the definition I like to use of energy. It's like, let's make a difference and do it out of a place that's conscious. But I also believe consciousness is not really conscious unless there's conscientiousness in it too.
Perfect. So let's go from consciousness to conscientiousness to what is going on in the world. Is humanity going to make it through? Are we going to be all right? Is this a positive shift? Where do we go?
I am the eternal optimist. I have to speak it from my own point of view. I do believe that each of us internally has what we need, and we know how to gauge, how to use our spiritual powers, our common sense, our brains, our logic, our ability to educate ourselves to create something really good out of this. There's already some good things happening. Up in Canada, a lot of the people are aligning, according to a really core set of ethics that are very, life enhancing. Europe saying, all right, we're going to start working together. I mean, so we've already seen these pop-ups, of individuals and groups saying, we're going to do what's right. On my personal Facebook, not so much my business one, but I might start there too. I've been repeating everything that's been happening. Look, we don't get to cancel out history, that's Black history, woman history, Hispanic history, Native American history. So I think that people are getting more voice and coming together with voice. And so can we just keep doing that? Because that's going to make a difference. That's going to make a difference. Here in America, I'm very enthused by the way the courts are holding the line. I have to say that too. Justice. Plato talked about that thousands of years ago. You have to have the form of justice to have a just society. So let's keep aggravating what is sort of this denial, ignorant based dark force stuff, not to the level any of us get hurt, if we can help it, but just kind of raise up these forms of goodness too.
It's interesting. I want to get back to blueprints. I want to go a little bit more on what you're seeing for the future. And then I want to dive into quantum psychic surgery. But it seems to me, let's be honest, it's the hardest thing to do in the States today, and yet maybe the most important. We get to talk. Flying back from Costa Rica last week, nobody's talking about what's going on in the States. Are they going to be a red? Are they going to be a blue? Are they going to support what I'm saying? Are they against? And it seems life or death. If you cross that line, if somebody has a different opinion, and maybe that is that dark and light, but it seems so critically important that we speak now more than ever. Why do I want to say silence is the killer? It is all about, for our evolution, we have to speak our voice.
Evil is what occurs when good people do not speak. I agree. But it was interesting. I was in London for 5 days a couple of weeks ago, working on a book. Sometimes I just get the heck out of here so I can close in, and go shopping, go to museums, and do all those fun things too. And I was sitting on the tube next to a woman. We started talking. I don't know about what stop we were getting off of. Her name was Bridget. She was from Ireland. And we went right into the heart of what's happening in America. She said, what do you think? I told her what I thought. I said, this is wrong. This is evil. This is what we need to do different. What are you seeing? What are you thinking? We probably had 4 minutes. And she gave me her phone number and said, if you're ever in Belfast, I would love to show you what we've worked through in Ireland, where we've come from, the troubles and the strife, and these different belief systems. So I think it's imperative to talk. I do have to admit, I was recently dating somebody who, in the end, I couldn't align with where he approached the world, with his belief system, because it was sort of like the cult kind of thoughts. It's like, you're just repeating things that are on media. I certainly look at, but I don't believe. And I'm like, I personally can't listen to that. And he said, well, share your research with me. And I said, you know what? I think you need to research. I don't want to teach you. I think you need to go research. Like, get off there. And here's a few terms you can look up, but what if you really want to be, kind of like live your value system? How about if you research? So sometimes I find, I want to talk. And sometimes I find I don't want to do all the work for people either. That's sort of an interesting idea.
So let's go into blueprints. Thank you. Let's go into blueprints, and let's go into, you're a chakra expert. In fact, you talk about 12 chakras, the physical chakras and the chakras beyond those. Are there unusual chakras right now? Or I look at humanity as a being and I look at the chakras of humanity. Are humanity's chakras broken or weird at this point?
So we're changing them. I really believe we're changing them. So it's really cool you asked that, because I've been playing with some writing I did a long time ago about new and unusual chakras and when are we going to activate them. For instance, there's a zeal chakra, probably different names in different cultures, that is about zeal. It's about not just enthusiasm, but it's the torch of goodness and justice. I really like my 12 chakra system. I recently did a really deep dive into analyzing the top 5: over the head, under the feet, around the hands, which is a commanding chakra, the 12th, which is our own individual unique one, comparing them to other cross-cultural systems. And they're out there in Aztec, in other Asian systems, in a Welsh system that's very little known, in some of the newer systems. I don't care if people think they have 42 chakras or 3. What really matters is what chakras are. They enable steps toward, we use the word enlightenment. You can use whatever word you want. I think it's awareness, of self-empowerment and other empowerment toward love. There's new chakras opening up. There's old ones that are being refined. For instance, almost every system talks about the first chakra. It's in the hips. It's very, very, power. It's about power dynamic and physicality and money. None of these are bad things. But the way I approach that chakra, there's a front side, which is just pushing your way into the world. That's a backside where we can make choices. Do we want to bring in streams of virtues or love, or just keep bringing in what's in our collective subconscious that's negative and power-based and dominant-based? And again, there really have been 6,000 to 8,000 years of more of a dominator model than a partnership model. What do we want to bring through the chakras we even know about? Because the ones, they all tie into the physical body. They all tie into our central nervous system. They all tie into our endocrine system. We're meant to open those up. There's hormones we're just starting to study that when people start to turn toward goodness, or bring in, you could call them quantum codes, you could call them, virtues, spiritual qualities. When you start bringing these in to the system, to the chakra system, to the physical body, you have new hormones opening up, enlightenment hormones. There's healing in the body. You get different out-of-body experiences while you're in your body. You have a different connection, into guides, into beings, sort of like Jonathan Livingston Seagull. You work and work and work, and people resist you, right? And then you punch through and you're like, there's been guidance all the way along, and I can be one too. I can also be an advisor. The body's an amazing instrument when you understand it through the eyes of subtle energy, I think.
From those eyes, and I'm going to again bring it back to all of humanity, even though we're talking about the individual. Is it like a veil thinning? Are the energies shifting? Are our chakras opening more individually and collectively? Because I see this, forgive me, we keep going there, holy moment as actually being this part of this energetic, the word shift is overused, but I don't know another word for it. It is a complete paradigm shifter or an electron jumping to a new state. And I see this opening of energies helping us get to that new state.
Yes, I think there's latent chakras that are opening. There's like a bliss chakra. It doesn't mean you're always happy. It just means you're working toward, what brings a higher level of
joy. I like that name.
Isn't that great? I know I'd like to like just hang out in bliss a lot more often too.
Sounds like an ice cream.
It would sell. So, even bliss water would work. So there's different chakras, and the same ones we have, they're already multidimensional. Let's just put it in that context. The brain fires electrically in at least 11 dimensions mathematically simultaneously. These are states of consciousness as well as actually electromagnetic, frequencies and patterns. So our chakras are evolving for us to be much more multidimensional. They already are, but we don't know it. The body, everything in our body, especially with our own genetic structure, is interconnected with the all, with these little one-dimensional strings. You can't see them, but they vibrate and interconnect us. And even our brain models after the universe. It's fascinating how much there's a big hologram. And there were studies in Russia forever ago that when people got a eureka or a really quick healing, there were these little white vortexes that they could see, kind of coming from or entering their DNA. There were sort of like eurekas that were occurring. So I do believe we're evolving. I don't think the standard chakra systems any of us are working, including me, should or could look exactly the same, kind of as we move through this sort of revolution either. I think they'll be simpler. They're kind of complicated right now. I think they'll be love-based, and whatever that means, that's what they'll be.
So let's go after each of these, and this dives right into to quantum psychic surgery. First off, if our brains are working in 11 dimensions all at once, and not if, our brains are, how do we let go of being only three-dimensional beings and allow in that information that's always there?
Well, let's go back to the sense of uncomfortability that none of us like, and uncertainty.
What a year!
And, everything that let's just be real. For thousands of years, probably tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of years, we humans have really approached this planet in an adversarial way, right? Like, that saber-toothed tiger is going to eat me, so I'm going to be negative. I'm going to hang out in my cave and only go out, when the sunlight is out. So it's pretty tough to let go of a lot of that programming, especially if we don't even know it's running us. But it's not the only running of us either. So a couple ways I like to approach things with people. One is do a little science research. I really love science. The truth is that we each have, and science will say this, biological science, we have two neurological systems. The one we've been running on for a really long time is digital. That's sort of a blueprint or a template that's very slow. Change is slow. It's all about safety. It's all about survival. It's all about, don't take a risk or beat the person over the head with the club before they can beat you over the head, and do everything a step at a time. I know, but it is. We have another neurological system that is analog. So when thousands of years ago, and we still can do this, cultures, tribes especially, got dreams. They walked in the garden with whatever they called God. They were connected to nature. They were connected to each other. They lived longer, even in some cultural, kind of phenomenons, it seemed like they did. That's the analog. That's the allness one. And so it's already in us. I don't think it's about just studying what's outside of us. I think it's about cultivating, how do I do analog today? Or how do I do my dream self today? Or how do I do my loving self today? Love is not weak. Love will step in front of a child if a bus is coming and put them, push them out of the way. Right? And hopefully get out of the way too. Love is not weak. It is powerful. But this analog gives us the guidance we're seeking, the support we're seeking, and I think the safety, from others, who run that way, who have a spirit ideation, and the invisibles, the invisibles, they save me all the time. It snows a lot here in Minnesota. I can't tell you how many times I've been, Cyndi, just stop, right, while I'm driving. And then boom, there goes a car. It happened with my son. When years ago we were doing a paper route. They're horrible. Just never do a paper route with your daughter, please. But they're, you get paid $9 a week and it's like 40 hours of work, but whatever.
It's slave labor. I did it for many years.
So he's on one side of the street with a dog and a bunch of papers. I'm on the other side of the street with a dog and a bunch of papers, and we're going to cross. And I just hear this voice that says, "Stop him." And I yell at Gabe. I go, "Stop." And he listens. So he was pretty well trained back then, right? This car barrels, just barrels right in front of him. That would have been really bad, really not good. So the more we come from analog, the better off we are. And so we are 3D. It's not bad to be 3D, but we're also all these other Ds too. We can look at our individual issues, with the first dimension, because they're just points in a line. We can problem solve on another dimension. So there's some exciting ways to approach our interdimensionality. But at the very least, just start practicing being your dream self. That'd be the easiest way to describe analog.
Beautiful. All right, let's go to quantum psychic surgery. First off, the word quantum is all PC today, but I don't think you actually mean it as just a warm and fluffy word. You threw around string earlier here. And so what does quantum really mean when we're talking quantum psychic surgery?
Okay, so quantum is a type of science, it's certainly not complete yet, that seems to answer the main questions of classical science, Newton getting hit on the head and being able to bake like an apple pie, right? How does that work? As well as the bigger questions like, who are we? What are we doing here? What's the nature of the universe? How is it that some people can miraculously heal? Or how do we get, kind of intuition? Or how do we really explain who we are and what we are? Einstein was all about that, to be honest. So that whole mechanical model is squishy, and again, it's incomplete and it's theoretical, but it sort of keeps proving itself in different ways that says that really the universe is made of sort of this foam or mesh of subatomic waves. P.S. They're not particles, they're waves, they're not dots, they're moving fields of energy, as are we, mainly light and sound, with some become more what we call mass or visible, and the rest is just all over the place, right? Dancing around in some sort of a, Zen dance, that we're trying to, coordinate with. So I really mean it as an approach to science that explains or is helping to explain time and space and healing and manifesting and the impact we have on each other and psychic activity and the entirety of the universe, which many quantum theoretical individuals are now saying is a divine intelligence. It is not just, loop-de-loops, right? Little Fruit Loops up there, like a little quantum circles. There's an intelligence. There's a loving intelligence. So it's an approach to the loving intelligence we are, and that is.
Thank you. I have the weirdest comment to make. Right before
weird.
We started, a tiny little fly, I don't even know if it's a fly, tiny little being landed next to my prayer stone. And it had the colors on it just went from one color iridescent from one to the next on its body. And I'm going, that's a quantum signature. As you're talking about quantum, it has landed above my camera lens. It's cleaning itself now. But it's my little quantum dude here.
It's helping us. Who's to say what's big or little, right? Right? It's all a reflection of this divine intelligence, all our beautiful wings and iridescence. I have to share a fun story. I was playing with dimensions several years ago, working with a client, went to sit on my stoop, as we sometimes call, the front stairs. And I was like, okay, I was thinking about the seventh dimension. And this butterfly lands on my hand, which I was like, oh, this is so cool. Seventh dimension is like a point that interconnects tons of different spaces and places and beings from all over the place. And so I decided to talk to it. I did it in my head because I had a lot of neighbors who didn't like me. So I thought, well, I really don't want to get drummed out of the neighborhood at that point. So I said, hello, butterfly. And in my head, it said, I am a Yakowitz. I'm like, oh, what do Yakowitzes do? And of course, intuitive, words, use what's in your brain. So to somebody else, it may have said, I'm part of the blue gene crowd or whatever, and so it says, oh, we're very important. We keep the world going. We carry gossip data from this flower to this flower and that plant to that plant, or nobody would know what to do. The bees wouldn't know what to do. The flowers wouldn't know what to do. The sun wouldn't know what to do. And I'm like, there you are. Isn't that sort of what you're having happen right now too, with your little iridescent guide? I think it's the same thing.
And last week when we were in Costa Rica, we had both Jessica and I had blue morpho butterflies land us.
Gorgeous. Oh, you are so fortunate. Those have such healing powers. They're just amazing. There was a movie out years ago about the blue morpho butterfly.
I was telling her about that. A boy goes searching.
Healing?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. They're like part of the whole interdimensional, inner realm, kind of juncture guides, bringing healing in and out. That's how I see those.
So many years ago, Wayne Dyer had a health scare. And you then heard that he had psychic surgery and it saved him. He ended up passing away, I believe it was less than a year later, of something completely unrelated. My belief is when it's your time, it will be your time. It will find you. But he healed from psychic surgery. What is this? What took place? Can we do this ourselves? So many questions on this.
Yes, we can. And I don't think he even really believed in it. But after he had the surgery, somebody sent it. He felt it. He's like, oh my, what's happening? So, it's a really wonderful idea and concrete activity as well. So many cultures across time, across the globe, have done something called psychic surgery or equivalent to psychic surgery. So, you could go all the way to the Filipino psychic surgeons, and I've had a Filipino psychic surgery too, where they're actually working through the body. They kind of go into a trance state, which I think of as interconnecting the subtle realm with the physical realm. They're the same. One's just measurable and one we don't know how to measure very well. So they're on that continuum where subtle can turn into concrete can turn into subtle, and they reached into my body and they pulled out like it looked like a lymph node, that had been bothering me. They worked on a friend of mine. She had an ear problem, had since she was a child, and they went in there and they pulled out glass. I mean, it was like, wow, which is very fascinating. So in different ways, in different cultures, shamans, healers, intuitives have always done psychic surgery. They can work in the physical body, with the physical body, or virtually. And I really like to connect psychic surgery to the idea of quantum, because when we're working with subatomical waves, we don't need to be with somebody. We don't, a psychic surgery is just exchanging a negative template with a positive one. That's what it is. A blueprint, a template. We're aware of that all the time because we're always downloading, kind of new software. It's software. It's almost mechanical. What's the software that's going to work in our hardware? If our hardware's not working, but then we need a new software. We might need to clean the entire hardware, right? But the universe is so bright. It's so fantastical. I think it is what we call physical, but it is quantum. And it stores, this is what we're starting to see and starting to prove, it stores data across time and space in geometric forms. Those are quantum forms or quantum patterns. So, wow, I think anything up there can be assembled, and it's down here too, but the picture I get is anything out there could be assembled for us in a blueprint to bring in and activate to fix a corrupt blueprint, to get rid of others' energies, or to bring in what we've never had. I think that's quantum psychic surgery, and I don't think it's complicated.
So can you give an example? I'm seeing myself, I love to play on the other side. I'm seeing myself on the other side, assembling all sort of geometric patterns, giving them meaning, which the meaning already existed. I'm just realizing that I'm giving it meaning. And then it actually doing something, ingesting that geometric pattern, and it changes. How do we do this? How do we play with this?
It's not that complicated. So I'll give you an example from a class I taught a little bit over a year ago in Chicago, and I was teaching the basics of this and the different dimensions. And, in that particular approach, we use the dimension as a doorway. The first dimension, you change one building block that's not working for one that's going to work. And most of it is just deciding you're willing to have this happen. Really, honestly, you can use 50 million tools, or you can just use a couple. I have a couple that are pretty easy for me to access. But it's really just aligning yourself, with like your own spirit, knowing that there's healing energies always available. They're created for you by the divine if you need them, that they can be quantum patterns in nature. So I led this very short 5-minute, 10-minute guided meditation. Change out one quantum building block that's not very good or pattern for one that you need. And then on break, this woman came up to me and she looked me in the eyes. I think I'm doing book signings or something. And she was like, can you see me looking at you in the eyes? And I said, yeah. She goes, my entire life, I've never looked at anybody in the eyes. She said, I have been diagnosed as neurodiverse, and I never have ever looked at anybody in the eyes, but nothing I've done medically, mentally, energetically has ever worked. But changing out this one building block for one that works, she goes, I'm not only looking at you in the eyes. And she started looking around. She said, I'm looking at you in the eyes, and you in the eyes, and you in the eyes. For her, it would have been very hard for the brain to come up with what the issue was, the causal pattern that needed to be changed, because it was a past life. And you can Google search forever and not come up with what's that piece that can be changed out. But it was just like that. I recently used this same kind of patterning idea. I did it a year ago, and I did it just this week, to be really honest. And again, I think it's about decision making. So a year ago, I had a negative mammogram on my left breast. And I was like, oh, do I really want to go through this? I'm like, okay, whatever this is about. So then you have to go back in, and they take another mammogram, and they maybe do an ultrasound. And I just focused during that week in between, and I just said, I want a sign from the universe. What is this about? What do I need to bring in and let go? And it ended up being some deep healing, about myself, and then, something with my mom who's deceased, really deep healing, stuff that could have come up in therapy, but never had. And I've done a ton of therapy. And I could feel the day before I went in, this pattern changing. It was like, it's like just slips in and something slips out. And so I went in and took the new test, didn't get the results quite, it was going to take 10 minutes. I said, can I look at the old mammogram? She showed me. She goes, look, there's a lump. There is a lump. The new one had no anything. So 2 weeks ago, I went in. The right breast has a lump. And I'm like, well, I'm obviously not done, because in this polarity universe, you have a left and your right. So I had a week in between. And I'm like, what is this about? I got so many signs from the universe. You need to clear something with your son. He still has huge issues from a way that you used to be with him. And then the second was, about a relationship I was in and my approach to men and, different things. I worked it. The day before I went in, which was yesterday, I went in yesterday, for goodness sake. I was leading a class, and we were doing quantum repatterning. And I just felt this new pattern come in, the old one go out. I just said, I just want 0. I just want a 0 in a good way, right? I just want a 0 on the next test. And I was told, you'll have to take an extra one mammogram, and then the ultrasound will have nothing on it. So we want to show you how this can work. So I went in, so I already knew this. I'm still scared. We still do feelings. And I took the initial mammogram, and she goes, well, it's a lot better than your first one, but there's still something there. They did the ultrasound, there was nothing there. And I'm like, I told them, I said, the first one will show something, the ultrasound will show nothing. Because it landed, because it just moves through. I'm just a human being. I don't have any other powers than anyone else does. I was nervous. I was scared. I tell my two people because I'm a private process by myself, but I do believe there's guides. I do believe there's help. I said to the universe, help me, show me. And I worked it through even in the fear. And I think it was granted to me. I don't think I'm just doing it all myself. I think it's like love does this. So there's a couple examples that, even give, some real life stuff that you don't have to know what you're doing.
So I love the idea of not needing to know what you're doing, because I keep going through the world saying, I'm a teacher and I don't know. I don't know. I can help you. And I don't know. Let's see what answers come through me.
Exactly.
And
That's it. Thank you. Keep going, please.
the more that I don't know, the more that I let the answer come through me. It's almost this humility, but a real humility, not a false sense. But well, I like this. It's sort of like when I teach automatic writing, people go, well, I'm not a good writer. I'm like, perfect. The less you know, the better. So if we're going into this process and we just say, I don't have a clue how this is going to work, just give me that answer of what that piece is that I get to plug in now.
Just help me. Just help. Just help me, show me, share with me, guide me. I almost feel like crying, because it's sort of like, I think about, it took me 2 years to learn how to tie my shoes. They didn't have Velcro when I was growing up. Okay, 2 years. And I do have to say, my dad, who's an engineer, who could have been, Cyndi, this is not rocket science. And he actually worked at NASA, right? This is not rocket science. For 2 years, he just kept showing me, he just kept helping me, and then all of a sudden, the way we used it, you make a little bunny and put the rabbit in the hole and all these things we did, all of a sudden it made sense. So inevitably, we're all going to learn how to tie our shoes, unless we all just have Velcro shoes, which it may be the day, that we'll be helped, we'll be met where we are, how we do things. We might read a book that all of a sudden gives us a technique, right? Or we may have a couple nights ago, my deceased dog Lucky showed up in my dreams, and all I know, he's such a sweetie. He's been showing up in clients' dreams, may I say that too. This amazing yellow lab. If you want to use Lucky, he's very talented. And he helped me do this final healing piece, around the right breast. I actually talked to my son for 2 hours and we did a huge thing. But he gave me this one little, part of me that was lonely and felt guilty about things. And, I didn't know Lucky was the one who was going to give me that little bit of a, kind of that lick on the face. So I think we have to, at some level, be willing, just willing to trust. We don't have to trust. We have to be willing to trust, to be willing to be helped, to be willing to know we're lovable, to be willing to know the universe is a divine intelligence based on love and will give us what we need to love us and improve us.
There's a word that's coming to me. And I want to see how we can use this for all of humanity today as well, because we need to do there are no needs. I believe it would be very valuable to do some psychic surgery on all of humanity today. But the word that's coming to me, and we're going back to Sharky here, and because if I bounce Sharky is going to light up. I won't do that on the desk outside here while I'm visiting my family. But play. We have to be willing to play.
Amen. So be it. That's what that means. So be it. It's joy. Quite a while ago, my guides were very clear. They're saying, Cyndi, every feeling eventually leads to joy of some sort. Anger could lead to self-empowerment, which is a version of joy. And you can play that way, kind of like perseverance and that, moving with our angst and I got it, those kind of, anger is about boundaries and fear is just incomplete, love. Eventually it leads to some version of joy, which can be relief, satisfaction, bliss, letting go, skipping around. Play is absolutely so important. I play all the time. When I was a kid, I was the one who always did the dishes. I usually did it to escape the family dinners right after. You know what I mean? There was like there was an underneath subconscious in there. But I would pretend, that the fork was the mom and the spoon was the baby and all these kind of things. I'm 5 or 6, and it made it really fun. So I think we can turn almost everything into play, can't we? I mean, I have a grandbaby right now, and I love nothing better than how she plays. She chats, she wiggles, she squirms, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just play. Her parents are raising her with this attitude of joy. She wakes up in the morning, she smiles, and her hair sticks straight up. You know what I mean? I don't think it'll ever not stick straight up. And you have to laugh when you look at her.
So if you have cancer, if you have infertility, if you have autoimmune condition, lupus, whatever it is, and you say, I am going to play with you, and I am going to ask the universe for the one piece I can plug in that will change all of this, that change it, and just play with it, that can make all the difference.
Yes, because when we're in optimism, there's studies, when we're in play, we're more open, we're more intuitive, more can shift, more can happen. And really, that's all psychic surgery is. It's like, just plug in what I need, and I'm going to play with this. I'm going to go to bed, and what dream do I get? I'm going to skip around, what strikes me. It's not that different than Einstein taking naps, right? He'd have these conundrums. Can you imagine coming up with those formulas? I can't, and you're just, if you just
Are you kidding? Did you see the document that you sent me before the show? I need to sit down for this.
I do love research.
And then I went to the speed of light or beyond, and I'm like, okay, we're good.
And she's just one idea. Come on. She's just saying one thing in too many pieces of paper. But he would just go to sleep. And then you bet he was probably just skipping around the universe. It's play, it's brain played.
I've seen this with Hannah Bear, but I've really seen this with Jessica. You'll give Jessica and our daughter Hannah Bear, she's doing this now too. You'll give Jessica, I don't know, maybe it's trying to play something on the ukulele. Maybe it's trying to do some sort of a jump or a run or a skip or something. Whatever it is, she can't quite figure it out. She tries it, can't quite figure it out. She goes to sleep that night, doesn't remember it, doesn't think about it, and the next day can do it as if she's done it her whole life.
That's it. That's the letting go. Well, when we're sleeping, there's many stages. We're going into analog. We're going into not just dreaming, but the dream self who doesn't take all this as seriously as our fears would have us take. One of the great healers of all time, John Newton, Dr. John Newton, James Newton, Dr. Newton, look him up, J Newton, J.R. Newton. And you can download his book. It's got many, many names, but one of the names is the Modern Bethesda. And he was alive in the 1850s and on, a doctor, and he was like, what are we doing? This is just too complicated. He healed thousands of individuals just looking at them with love. He didn't take the disease seriously. He believed there were angels present. The deceased can help us. God helps everybody. He was a Christian, but that was his view of Christianity. He would just look at people in love. They might get up and walk. Whatever we would now call an autoimmune dysfunction would just clear. What we would call diabetes, would clear, or, a plague of emotions would just lift. And he made it easy. He made it loving. He made it easy. He made it simple. He just saw streams. I call them grace. He said it was the magnetic cure of love. That's what he called it. But that's the most playful way you can do it, is like, let's just do what's loving. Open me to love. What's the most loving way to be right now? Hear myself, see myself, talk about myself. That is play too.
Thank you. So you said to be right now. The energies right now are strong. I have a lot of students who say it's really hard to get and stay in that loving place right now. It's not their energy, but yet it is part of the field. I think part of the field to help shift us, but it's real. How do we shed that unplug something and do whatever it is to get us to that state of, I'm going to play with Sharky, rather than, oh my God, I can't even think about play right now because XYZ is taking place.
Now, would not that be a universal quantum pattern that could be flipped for each of us that give permission for that? Absolutely. It's a pattern. The universe has everything in it. It will assemble anything that is needed. That is really the key to healing. It will assemble for each of us uniquely, for a culture, for a condition, for a situation. There will be, or there will be assembled a pattern exactly like that for that purpose, to be held in love, to be in love, and it's okay if we pop around. We are messy. It's okay if we go, oh, I just sort of lost that. That is not a bad thing. That can also be part of play. That can be, oh, I'm bouncing the ball and that technique didn't work. So let me learn a different way to bounce that ball. Isn't that interesting? That's still play. Kind of shifting and moving around and learning more is also play.
So we wake up in the morning. We don't know what's taken place. We haven't checked the NEWS, maybe in a day, maybe in a week, maybe in our lifetime. But you wake up and all of a sudden you find you're going, I. How do we identify? Because a lot of this is opening up energetically. And opening up energetically means we're going to feel more of ourselves and feel more of everyone and everything around us, I believe, as we're elevating in our energetic bodies, opening up to a higher level. So we're feeling this energy and we're going, okay, Michael and Cyndi said I get to play today, but I feel like hiding under the table and I don't know why. What do we do with that energy that we're feeling?
All right. So one of the ways that I like to do that, because I go into that too, every so often I'm like, oh my God, this is really bad. This is like,
I don't even know what this is.
Oh my gosh. And clients and students bring it up all the time too. And I think it's not a negative to be aware, to be sensitive, to care, to have compassion, to be not in denial is a good thing too. All right. We don't want to be in denial. Ignorance is not bliss. So a certain level of awareness is just maturity as well. So again, we wake up in the morning. I think the first thing to do, is just be okay with how I'm feeling. That's what I would do. I am okay with how I'm feeling. This is arising for a reason. I want to understand, if I need to understand, what it is that I'm aware of, and I want to heal it. I want to bring this feeling, this agitation to a place of more wholeness, and myself to a place of more wholeness. And then we say help, right? The universe is loving, good universe, whatever words we want to use, God, Gaia, good universe. I would really like, as the day goes on, for you to help me be aware of whatever I do need to understand. And by within 3 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours, 5 minutes, whatever it is, you universe know, to plug into me a pattern of play that can land and that can spread. So do we need awareness? We open for that. If we may not even need it, we may not need to understand anything, right? We just ask, good universe, divine intelligence, will you bring into me, whatever you want to use the word, that patterning, that blessing, that prayer, whatever your word is. From a science point of view, it's a quantum pattern, right? And it can move faster than the speed of light. It can already be present in you before you even become aware of your angst as well. You just want it brought in and or activated, in that timing that is best for who you are. We just ask.
Thank you. Let's go global again. Is it a pattern that gets to be replaced? Is there a chakra that's broken? Why energetically is this feeling out there, or why are we needing to go through the mud to get to the lotus right now?
So I think almost all of our chakras, have to be updated. I believe most of our patterns need to be updated. Well, whether we experience them as physical, psychological, cellular, spiritual, religious, or whatever it is. I go back to a very, very in the Abrahamic religion, but the same ideas show up in almost every other creation story. In the garden was two trees, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life, which I sometimes call the tree of light. And we were told not to eat. Like, you guys aren't ready. I'm sorry. You're just not ready to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and, evil. But we did, and so then this is the world that unfolded. This is the world. I believe at some huge level, what we're attempting to do is say, you can't undo what's been done, right? But you can move through it and transform it. I believe it's our time to say, we don't want to operate in this polarity anymore. The biggest quantum pattern we've been structured by is that good and evil. So you take your side and then you battle. I think that's what we're undoing. I think we're saying, look, this whole time, I think what's being unleashed, that we can now eat of it, if you would, is the tree of life or the tree of light. It's unified. And in Genesis, there's actually two creation stories. There's the one where the Yahweh male sort of warrior, chieftain God, says, okay, I'm making Adam or man out of clay. And then Eve comes second. I'm sorry, but there's sexism, and you're supposed to take domination over the earth. So now we have, and then we eat, and then it's like, I'm sorry, everything's going to be bad from now on. You know what they did? They hid. They weren't punished. They weren't being real. They weren't open for help. There's a second creation story where the Elohim is a plural term for God, creator, universe, creates animals, plants, makes them our teacher, according to the book of Hopi, just to throw in another angle on this. And then just says, here you are. You are equal to me. You are creators. You are creative spirits. The Torah talks about God created the universe and left it unfinished. How are we going to finish it? That's what we're doing. Which way are we going to finish it?
I'm going to show you. I don't know if anybody's going to see this, because as you're speaking, and he's starting to hide now. He got shy, and you're mentioning Hopi, and I'm thinking of transformation. Oh, he's going to be hard to see now. A little gecko-like lizard. I don't know if you can see that at all.
I can't see them, but I know what they look like.
Behind the gutter, because you mentioned Hopi, and that's like one of their symbols.
That is a symbol. Yes.
and it's transformation, and it's also, it can let go of its tail, and it can let go of what it doesn't need.
Yes.
And it is not fighting the world.
Right. Let's let the universe teach us. Let's let the plants and the animals show us. I think that's the ultimate blueprinting that we're changing. In the book of Hopi by Frank Waters, he gives some examples of the early shamans, would just realign people with the divine blueprint. That was it. So how are we going to do this? It's not that complicated, but it can sure feel hard, given that we really are all part of this shift, and we can feel what doesn't feel good, as well as help create what would feel good too.
It seems like it'd be good to take 5 or 10 minutes. I tend to do it at the end of the day. I go into this vegetable state right before I go to sleep, and I just kind of sit there, and Jessica's like, what are you doing? And I look like, and what I'm doing is I'm playing and I'm meddling and I'm putting things out there, and I'm completely toast from the day, but I am playing with how I want to see the world, how I want to see my life, what I want out of this, asking for that assistance. But to take that alchemizing time, either for ourselves or for everything, because you've looked at the news, you've looked at whatever is going on in your life, you've gotten your blood work test, your whatever, your mammogram, and you go, oh, and you go and play for a little while. You just completely unplug from you and play.
There it is. And I love the unplugging from self, because I do have the tendency to take myself and my interpretation so seriously, instead of like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to open. End of the day is great. Morning is great. Dawn and dusk are those in between times. Those are magical times. And I tend to be up early. I have 3 animals, and they all like to be walked. And I usually do it right before dawn and through dawn, so that's just magical. I can't say I'm thinking of anything, kind of terribly important. I'm just being. I'm just enjoying the earth. I'm enjoying the wind.
I rented a bike last week in Costa Rica, And I rented it. I don't know. It was a Wednesday. It was a Thursday. Just random day of the week. And this guy says, "Do you have a headlamp?" And the guy I'm renting a bike from. I'm like, "Or do you have a headlight?" I'm like, "Oh, I got a headlamp." And he goes, "Well, come join us tonight for a bike ride. We have our weekly dusk bike ride." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I had no plans on doing this, but okay. And I go for this ride, and they're going down these trails that I don't know, so I'm behind everybody, and it gets full on Costa Rican dark, no lights around. And I remembered because I called the trip last week. The plan was it's considered our second honeymoon, but it was really a remembrance. And I remembered how sweet and special and sacred that dusk is, that silence is. And then, I'm like lost out on the trail. They're around somewhere. But our symbol before the trip was a dove. Doves had come to land at our house. And then when we rented a home for a week in Costa Rica, doves came. And I'm on this dark trail and my headlamp's doing an inferior job. And then I see a sparkle of gold before me. And it's a dove's eye. It's sat on the ground in front of me on the trail. And then another sparkle. And it's another dove and another dove illuminating the trail literally until, I'm wondering if I've made this up. One of them actually flew up. There was another cyclist who came up and flapped. He's like, "I just got hit by a bird." So the bird was fine, but it was real. These doves were there. But it is the magic of putting yourself in this, I want to call it luminous state. It's this liminal state, but it's also this luminous state, this state of light and beingness.
Beautiful. And luminescence, that is exactly the term, because it is luminary, it's phosphorescence. Those are really real ways that light kind of creates itself. So, and you know what? We all have a headlight. Sometimes we may think it's not doing a good job, right? But there are other lights that will pop on as we need them too.
Thank you. So what else do we need to know about psychic surgery so that we can begin playing after today for ourselves and then for all of humanity?
So start playing with it. It really is the substitution of a pattern, that's positive, that's enhancing, for one that's sort of corrupt, or incomplete. And so that's what it is. So I think go practice with it. Wake up, every week and say, during this week, I'm going to focus on XYZ. Pick an issue that means something to you. It doesn't need to be spiritual. It can be, I'd really like to, kind of reduce that wart, or I'd really like to have a better sense of it can be big, my calling, or how am I supposed to relate to this person that I haven't been getting along with? Pick something that to you is very real and important, and then once a day or every other day or a couple times a day. Dawn and dusk are really good, by the way. We just said that. You don't have to get up at dawn. You can pretend it's dawn whenever you get up. Just ask. I am open. Divine intelligence, love. I am open. Presence. I am open for today's download of that ultimate patterning to improve that particular issue. And then give yourself a second to feel it. What do you feel? Is there a little tingle? Do you get a wormy feeling? Accept whatever you feel. And if possible, see if you can get a sense of a sensation, an intuitive glance of something, of what's coming in and maybe what's releasing, because both are involved with healing and manifesting. There's an opening up, and there's a releasing. So, just go for a week with a certain issue. Once or twice a day, just say, whatever that patterning is that's going to be beneficial, bring today's in, and then I'll be with it. I think it's simple.
Thank you. And I'm thinking about some of my blood tests or wife's blood tests. And I'm thinking, just to, and my term again is play. I'm going to play with you for 5 minutes today. You're my new temporary BFF. We're going to send you on your way, but temporarily you're here to play. You're here to help elevate me, because like you went through those mammograms, you got to play, you got proof, you got evidence, and it gives you even more power. And everything we're talking about is really about one thing. It's about remembering who we are, that we are the creator. We are all powerful.
Yes, we are. And the play can coincide with whatever other human feelings we have. We can go, I don't think I'm capable of this. Like, well, whatever, I'm going to play anyway. Look at what kids do when they're playing. They don't sit there and go, I don't know how to swing. They get on the swing. right? And then, you know, they're pushed or they're held on there or they sit on their parents' lap, you know, or they fall off. I mean, I fell off a lot of swings, right? All of that's okay, right? Because it's still play and it works its way into reality when you just go at it in that playful sort of a mood.
Well, kids are to use the term, kids are the ultimate manifestors. They don't need to find a way to get something. They just will get that something.
They do.
It
Yes,
will come to them.
yes, they do. My grown sons are still getting from me. They're very good at it. My oldest sat down with me and he's like, you know, Mom, when I took, you know, a few months off, you know, to take care of, you know, my little one, you know, this happened to my Visa card, which was like, oh, okay. Mom's like, I get the message, I'll help. So we can all do that. We just go to our Visa card.
Well, it is. I can't believe I'm going to say this. And I have dad. Well, his dad was off to the side, so he may or may not be watching this and hearing this. So last night we drive in, we get down to Southern Florida, and we meet my family for dinner at this little fresh kitchen bowl place. You know, I'll take one of this, one of that, and another. And I give my mom a big hug as she's already in line, and I apparently surprised her, and she goes, but she gets to the register, and this is life going full circle. Her card doesn't work. And that's part of why I'm down here, is because now we get to figure out all these logistics. And I had them working a couple weeks ago, and we'll get them working again. And I got to buy her dinner. It goes full circle.
It hasn't come full circle for me yet. That parent,
let's keep it away for a while, but rest assured it will go full circle.
The divine Visa card is always ready.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about your program, then I'll have a few more questions, and I want to get a little more rest and reassurance as we're going through this. But first off, what's your psychic surgery program coming up? Where can people find out? Well, actually, I'll have a link down below. Everybody, Excellent. I'll put the link down below. We'll make it super simple. What's this coming up?
I'm so excited. I have a 7-week program coming out April 22nd through the Shift Network on quantum psychic surgery, using the dimensions as doorways. I mean, I see this as like ultimate change time. I am very compulsive. I will give everybody lots of science, lots of handouts. You do not have to read them all, but it's valid. It's all based in math and science and hope and miracles as well. So we'll go through 7 dimensions, 7 weeks, everything from healing the microbiomes. Yes, that is plural, you know, to getting into what I like to call sort of a transcendent mentality, living in our higher consciousness. Many of us sensitives really are impacted by what's happening right now. So how do you deal with the group mind? How do you not buy into, you know, kind of the personalities that have more impaired empaths, narcissists? You know, how do you get really clean? How do you help your trauma self? How do you assist your neurology? It's sort of all of that, you know, with this idea of plugging in and unplugging. And so it's really that simple. Everything happens quicker and easier in a group, though. So there's something beautiful about doing class.
Well, I do a lot of clearing work on people, and I love it when I do a group clearing with my School of Mystics, or maybe I'll even go on YouTube and you'll get 40 or 50,000 people, and you do a group clearing, and people pop. And it's not that I'm doing anything. I don't know about you. It might be that you're doing, but I'm not doing anything. But there's a power of the group that just lights things up.
That it's not me doing it at all. I'm usually behind. I'm like, wow, that was cool. Like, I felt that too. I'm so excited. It's love. It's the power of love. It is what it is, you know, and it brings miracles in the form of C.S. Lewis. A miracle is the appearance of what's supposed to be here, which also denotes the disappearance of what's not supposed to be here. So that's what we're all doing together. Yeah, Shift Network has it, my own website, cindydale.com. You know, we'll have it. Really,
I'll have that
really
link down below as well.
Program. Yeah, do the link because it's going to be the fastest way.
But okay, so I think we've come full circle a couple of times because we're spiraling up the mountain. but this is a time period. I'm going to go to Canada, and I love Canada, and we spent half of last year in Canada, and I love you. I love everybody everywhere, but oh my God, my heart for Canadians and Quebecois, there's a special place. And to me, everybody is coming together at this time. And that's happening elsewhere around the world. As the darkness rises, people come together into the light at a higher level, which, if we're honest, is group intention, is group meditation, is group prayer, I believe, it's not going to be one country against another. This is everybody's going to come together. That is the shift in consciousness. And that is why the healing modality, when we recognize it, you can look at studies. You can go to Lynn McTaggart, Power of Eight. What you'll learn is when we come together, everything pops, everything changes. And I believe that's the new dynamic that we're heading toward.
That is the dynamic. It's heart to heart, soul to soul, kindness to kindness, and grace, grace, just the power of love that makes a difference. Years ago, I was in therapy with my oldest son, and the therapist, well, it was for him, but it was really, I was the one who had to change. And the therapist looks at me and he says, you grew up in a family that didn't have any grace. What would it be like for you to meet the world now with grace? With just that sense of, it's not against me, it's with me. The world is with me. People are with me. I think we're talking about the same thing.
Thank you. Woohoo! So are you hopeful for the future? And the question that everybody wants to know, can you give me proof?
I think there is proof. I think we've both said a little, kind of some shining examples of it. I am hopeful. Demonstrations of good people wanting goodness for everybody. Anytime you're wanting something that helps everybody, we're getting people coming together for that. The Arlington Cemetery is part of the takedown of the DEI, the diversity, et cetera. Between December and March, they were taking down study programs, that were for, here's what Black soldiers have, done, and here's this squadron, and here's the women, and here's the Hispanics and Native Americans. They did it silently. They didn't tell anybody they were doing it. Somebody figured it out. I think like March 7th or something around there. One person figured it out, then more people started noticing. There was such a huge outrage of people coming together and saying, we care about this history, that the cemetery started putting, those programs back up. So that is what we can do with our voices out of love, because we weren't saying hate. We were saying, we care about every person and group counts. Let's bring that, that's the yeast, that's going to make everything rise right now.
Somebody recently asked me, or they said, Michael, you are political. Because I say I don't have a political bone in my body. They're like, Michael, you are political. You clearly have one bent. You clearly have. And I said, yes, I have a political party. You absolutely caught me. You're right. It's the party of love. If it's love, I will vote for it. It's like my Mother Teresa. If it's love, I'm there. If it's anything else, you can count me out.
Thank you. Let's all be part of that party, which sounds like a lot of play too, doesn't it?
Woohoo! Any last words you want to share today, Cyndi? And this has been absolutely beautiful and love-filled. And I think the energy of everybody is going up from being here today.
I just think we go into that word hope. Okay, just from a geeky point of view, there's a zero in the middle of it. There is a zero dimension, which is a point, which is the all. I think let's just join together in that all. Let's just be in the all, and know that we're all moving, goodness up, and down at the same time.
Well, that's Sandalphon.
That is Sandalphon. I'm looking up Sandalphon. He's my new dude. I'm going to him.
He's been writing me in automatic writing for years, and I never wrote back. I would be in the middle of automatic writing, and I'll get a hi there, and I'm like, it's Sandalphon. I'm like, I'm busy right now. And then finally, I took up the invitation this past month, because I'm actually teaching a course on hope this coming month, and he's like, we've got a lot to talk about.
Well, I'm going to him. I think he's like sitting right there, and probably next to each of us. So it's funny how they can be with everybody at the same time, kind of as we are too.
So thank you so much. And the timing was perfect. And for everybody who's wondering, I am at my beautiful, loving parents' place. This was completely unplanned until a few days ago, when all of the synchronicities of the universe came together. And here we are, and here you are as well. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying be well as I'm keep grabbing the lights. It's a beautiful windy day here. Saying be well, have fun, dive into that hope, which is who and what you are. I want to say commit psychic surgery in the most beautiful quantum way on yourself and on the planet, out of love, for love, by the love, be the love. You are the love, and above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Wow, wow, wow. We've got this beautiful Florida sunshine here. What a beautiful, special, important, and needed now interview. And we ended on the topic of hope. How does it get any better than this? It's actually what I'm teaching this month in the School of Mystics. We have a whole month dedicated to hope, just what we were talking about. If you want to find out more about it, if you want to join us live or recorded 4 Wednesdays each month, where again, group intention, we bring each of us up, group intention meditations, attunements, clearings, the works, simply click that link below and come on over to the School of Mystics. If you simply want to bring your energy up, way up on a daily basis, please, it's free, dailywoohoo.com. Come get our newsletter, dailywoohoo.com. You get your Daily Woohoo newsletter, which brings your energy up each and every day. And if you want to learn how to channel, if you want to connect with the other side, whether it's your loved ones, your angels, whether it's your guides, whether it's Archangel Sandalphon, simply come on over to automaticwriting.com. I have a video-based program and live classes each and every month. In one class, I can get you channeling with the other side. It's automaticwriting.com. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you so, so much, and keep on shining bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this? Well, love. I send you love. I send you love. I send you love. Lots of love. Share this with the world.